For 10 long years, she had known nothing but emptiness. No warm bed to curl into when the nights grew cold. No gentle hands to stroke her fur or soothe her fears. No safe home to remind her she belonged. Her world had been silence, loneliness, and shadows, until the day someone finally showed her what it truly means to be loved. Wrigley came into her life quietly, almost like a whisper at the end of a storm. There was nothing dramatic about her arrival, no wagging tail, no eager bark, no spark of joy that most dogs bring with them. She was 10 years old, her body already carrying the weight of time and a past that had not been kind. She moved carefully, as though the world itself could not be trusted. She didn't know how to climb stairs. She didn't touch the treats offered to her. Toys meant nothing, only strange objects to be avoided. And soft beds? She had never once rested on one. The floor had always been her home, the cold and the hard surfaces her only comfort. Her face carried faint scars, reminders of a story no one would ever fully know. They weren't fresh, but they told of something cruel, something that had stolen away her trust long before. She didn't wag her tail like other dogs, didn't bound forward to greet strangers. Instead, she curled herself into the smallest shape possible, silent and watchful, as though bracing for a world that had always been quick to hurt. No one could say what her life had been before, but one truth was clear: it had not been gentle. Then something unexpected happened. She was taken in, not as family, not yet, but as a foster. Just 1 month, that was the plan. A safe place to rest until another home could be found. But Wrigley had other ideas. The days slipped by, and in her quiet way, she began to weave herself into the heart of the home. She didn't demand attention. She didn't ask for anything. She simply existed, steady and calm, and somehow, that was enough. By the end of that month, it was no longer possible to imagine letting her go. She wasn't a foster anymore. She was family. Her transformation began with the smallest victories. The first time she accepted a treat from an open hand, she did it gently, almost cautiously, as if testing whether kindness was real. Then came the stairs, each step a battle, each climb a triumph. She discovered toys not as threats but as curious little mysteries. One morning, she was found stretched out on the bed, her head resting on a pillow, breathing deeply in the kind of sleep that comes only when trust has finally begun to take root. That was the moment it became clear: Wrigley had started to believe she was safe. Life shifted again when they moved across the country to New York City. For Wrigley, the city was overwhelming. Cars made her tremble. Every time she stepped inside one, her body froze as though cars had always meant something terrible. But she stayed close to the one holding her leash, her trust steady even when her fear was great. She knew this human would not let her down. The city, in its own strange way, began to shape her. A vet recommended sweaters to protect her sensitive skin, and what started as a simple turtleneck soon grew into a small wardrobe. Wrigley wore sweaters, soft shirts, and tiny jackets, each one turning heads during walks. She became, without even trying, the quiet star of every sidewalk. And in rare moments, when she caught her reflection in the mirror, her ears perked and her eyes lit up with a spark. Like she recognized, for just a moment, the beauty she had always carried within her. But time leaves its mark on every living soul. Wrigley's years of hardship had taken their toll. Arthritis and hip dysplasia crept into her bones, slowing her steps and making her once strong legs falter. Running and jumping were no longer possible. Walks grew shorter, 2 blocks, sometimes less. But she didn't seem to mind. She had already found what she had always been missing: safety, love, and belonging. At home, her world was simple but perfect. A favorite blanket, folded just the way she liked, always waiting for her on the couch. Every morning, she checked to make sure it was still there, nudging it into place with her nose if someone had moved it. It was her little ritual, her way of keeping order in the world she now trusted. The bond between them deepened in ways words could never capture. Sometimes, it felt as though Wrigley could understand without a single command. Her eyes carried quiet wisdom, her steady presence enough to ease a restless mind. She was no longer the broken dog she once was. She was a reminder of patience, of resilience, of how love, when offered freely, can mend even the most wounded of hearts. Wrigley's story was not one of sudden miracles. It was one of gentle victories, earned slowly, moment by moment. And in those quiet moments, a once forgotten dog became something far greater. a beloved companion, a loyal friend, and proof that even after 10 lonely years, a heart can learn to trust again. When life felt messy, when the world outside seemed heavy and full of noise, there was always Wrigley. She would curl into a warm ball on her blanket, steady as the shoreline that never left. No matter the storms, no matter the uncertainties, she was there, soft, constant, and true. "Is that your lamb? Is that your Easter lamb?" her person would tease gently, watching Wrigley nuzzle her favorite toy, carrying it with the same quiet devotion she carried everything in her life. Wrigley was never the type of dog to bound across a field chasing tennis balls or racing through a park. That wasn't her way. Instead, she had her own, quieter language of love. She chose her spots carefully, always close enough to be near, to remind you she was there, but never so close as to overwhelm. She seemed to understand boundaries in a way many people never learned, knowing the perfect moment to place her head on your knee, or the precise second to sigh and settle beside you when silence was all you needed. Her stillness was not empty, it was a balm, a calm presence that wrapped itself around you when words fell short, when explanations failed, when life's weight pressed too hard. She asked for nothing in return, yet gave everything she had, her patience, her loyalty, her quiet, unspoken love. The truth is, Wrigley taught a lesson so easily forgotten in the rush of life. That love doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't require grand gestures or flawless moments. It thrives in the ordinary, in the willingness to stay close, even when trust hasn't yet been earned, in the decision to show up, every day, through good and bad. That's where love breathes and grows, in the steady rhythm of presence. She was, in many ways, a soulmate wrapped in fur, not the kind you search the world to find, but the kind that quietly finds you, the kind that doesn't arrive with fireworks or dramatic entrance, but instead settles softly into your life and stays. Even as her steps slowed and her bones grew tired, she carried with her a quiet grace. She filled the home not with noise, but with peace. Wrigley's story was not without shadows. She came from a place of hurt, carrying wounds no one could see, yet somehow, she had learned to love again, not because her past had disappeared or because her world had suddenly turned perfect, but because someone had chosen not to give up on her, and in return, she gave everything she had, teaching the simple, profound truth that healing is possible, even from the deepest scars. Time, of course, could not be stopped. No one knew how many more years, or months, or even days, would be theirs together, but the promise was never about time. The promise was about love, that whatever days remained would be filled with comfort, safety, and devotion, that the same love she had been given from the start would never be taken away, that she would be cherished until the very end. And in that promise, there was peace. The most beautiful gift life had given wasn't something wrapped in ribbons or celebrated in a fleeting moment. It was a senior dog, once broken, who had found the courage to rest her head without fear, a soul who had finally discovered what it meant to belong. She had entered that home as a foster, meant to stay only for a little while, but she never left. She became family, and in doing so, she forever changed the heart of the one who had opened the door. Perhaps that's the secret of love. It doesn't always arrive as we expect. Sometimes it comes with wagging tails and tired bones, with cloudy eyes and unsteady steps. But when it arrives, it teaches us more about patience, trust, and grace than anything else ever could. If Wrigley's story has warmed your heart or reminded you of the quiet beauty of second chances, take a moment to share it. Share it with someone who might need comfort, someone who has forgotten that love doesn't have to be loud to be real. Like the video, pass it on, or subscribe so you don't miss more stories like this. Because your small action could be the reason another animal finds safety, trust, and a forever home. And maybe that's the truest gift of all. That love, once given, never disappears. It always finds its way back.
If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.